Do you want to uncover the secrets creating an unshakable bond between you and your romantic partner? If so, keep watching because we're about to unveil the ultimate guide to creating an unshakable emotional intimacy in your relationship. Hi, I'm Aaronjarrels. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I help couples find their help. Today, we're going to be going over what emotional intimacy is and how you can build an unshakable one with your romantic partner. And stay tuned to the end because I'm going to share the results of a study that show exactly how important emotional intimacy can be for a couple. Let's get going. First, we're going to discuss what emotional intimacy is and what it means inside your relationship. It covers more than just the physical attractiveness or the compatibility that you might have. It actually encompasses the part of your relationship that creates the closeness that you feel. So it touches on the empathy that you feel for one another, the trust you have for one another, and it brings you together on a deeper level. Next, let's touch on what emotional intimacy isn't. I think it's important to have an idea, not just what it is, but to kind of dispel some of the misconceptions. The first misconception that I've got for you is it's not about constant agreement. Too often people think, well, if we're really intimately close and we have that emotional connection, we'll always agree on the same things. And that's simply not the case. It's about having the ability to share with your partner exactly what you're feeling and what your ideas are without the fear of reproach. The second misconception about emotional intimacy is that it'll happen naturally over time. And that's not true. It doesn't happen unless you work on it. This is a skill that takes practice. It takes intentional effort in order to make it work. The third misconception about emotional intimacy is that it means dependency, right? That you're glued onto your partner or that you lose your sense of self in the relationship. And that is simply not the case either. What it means is having the strength and the place in order to share who you are and what you want in that relationship without feeling judged. The fourth misconception is that it's all up to one partner, and that is not the case. If just one of you is practicing, it's like a couple learning to play tennis. You're not going to get better at it if only one of you is practicing it. So if only one of you is working on emotional intimacy, it isn't going to do your relationship any good. It takes commitment from both sides in order to have emotional intimacy work. It's a two-way street. One of the next things that's incredibly important for building emotional intimacy is your ability to communicate. If you cannot communicate with your partner or you feel like you're walking on eggshells constantly, it's going to get in the way. You need to have complete and utter trust in your partner. Trust not only in what they're doing, but trust that you can open up and share intimate details about yourself without fearing that you're going to be judged. I can't emphasize enough the importance of communication in building emotional intimacy. If you're unable to communicate with your partner, how are you ever going to get it together? You've got to be able to share your ideas, your passions, your desires, your expectations, and your boundaries for the relationship in a way that feels open, honest, and easy. And if you do not have the ability to communicate that way, you need to practice. If you're interested in watching, I've got another video here on communication techniques that go over specific things like active listening and other things. You might want to give that a watch. We touched on this earlier, but vulnerability with your partner is imperative. If you can't feel vulnerable with your partner, who can you with? So your willingness to feel or be vulnerable with your partner is going to set the stage for your emotional intimacy and how close you're able to be connected. One of the things you can do to build up that vulnerability is to respect each other's boundaries and commitments. When you make a commitment to one another, stick to it. If you can't stick to your commitments to everyone in the world, stick with them to your partner. That's going to show that you have that closeness, you have that connectedness with them, and that you care enough to make a change in your life. The next part of being vulnerable is being honest, being transparent. Now, I know this is a subtle difference, and I'm going to try really hard to explain this, but there's a difference between being 100% truthful and being honest and transparent. So what I mean by that is, let's say that your partner asks, do these pants make my butt look big? The truthful answer is, no, your butt makes your butt look big. Okay, but that's not what the other person in your couplehood is asking. They're asking, are you still attracted to me? Do you think I should wear these pants? Is this something that looks appropriate? Blah, blah, blah. Being honest and transparent is saying, no, I think you probably shouldn't wear those if you're feeling self-conscious. Or answering it in a way that sounds like, no, I'm still attracted to you. I definitely love the way you look in those pants, but bum, 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 or whatever. It's about being honest with what they're asking and what your answer is. It's not always about blasting them in the face with the truth. The next and one of the most important things you can do to be vulnerable with your partner is to be reliable and supportive. Okay, we need to support one another. And if we can't get support from our closest romantic partners, who are we going to get it from? So we need to be supportive and we need to be reliable. They need to be able to count on us. So this goes back to the commitment thing. When we say we're going to do something, we need to do it. Okay, so if you're wanting to build that closeness with your partner, they've got to be able to count on you. And if they can't count on you, how are they ever going to be emotionally close? The next set of skills you're going to need to work on to really create and foster that emotional closeness and intimacy with your partner is developing your intimacy and understanding. The best way to practice empathy is to use perspective taking. Okay, so what I mean by perspective taking is you need to look at whatever the thing is from not just your perspective, but try and empathetically transfer yourself to see it from their perspective. Now, what that does is, granted, we're never going to be able to see things the same way other people do. So I do this little thing when I'm doing some couples therapy, and I'll have the couple sit in front of me and I'll show them my hand. I'll stick my hand in between them and I'll say, tell your partner what you see and describe my hand to them so that they see it the way you see it. And I have both of the halves of the partnership in the relationship do it. And it's shocking because they both think, well, we're both looking at your hand. Of course, we're going to be able to do this. And it very quickly falls apart. And that is because one half of the couple is looking at this side of my hand. So they see the knuckles and they see calluses and they see the lines and the meat of the hand. The other person sees the backside of the knuckles, fingernails, and hairs. So as they start to describe it to each other, I say, great, are you right? Is that what you see? And the other half of the partnership never sees it. And then they're like, holy crap, we're talking about the same exact thing, but we're coming up with different perspectives on it. And so we see things differently, even though we're both looking at exactly the same thing, because you're not looking at it from the same perspective. So perspective taking gives you the ability to put yourself in their shoes and say, I may not understand it, I may not agree with it, but I can see that they see it differently than I do. The next thing you can do is to cultivate or try to understand your partner's emotional context. So where they're coming from emotionally. Now, I know I'm not a big fan of talking about feelings and getting all up into that mess, because I believe that feelings are emotions, emotions are emotional states of mind brought on by our thinking and our actions, right? So if we're going to dive into the emotion, what are you feeling like? What are you doing? Very often we forget to go after the thought that's causing the feeling in the first place. But here's what I want you to do is to understand your partner's feeling and where it's coming from, and understand that there is a thought that's helping them think that way or helping them feel that way. So if you're able to understand where their emotion is, it gives you a much clearer or a much better indicator of what the thought is that's causing them to feel that way. Now, if you tell them something and their emotional state seems incongruent with what you just said, you can almost bet on the fact that their thought, the way they understood what you said, their interpretation of it is different than you meant it to be. So now you can tell very quickly just by reading their emotional state, that didn't go the way I thought that was. I think there might be a misunderstanding. And rather than blaming them for it and saying, I don't think you understood me. I don't think you're getting what I'm saying. Instead of doing that, say to yourself, there must be a reason that I didn't portray the message in a way that it was received the way I meant it to be. So what that does is that sets you up in a much different mind space to be like, you're not taking full responsibility for their emotional state, but what you are doing is taking responsibility for the part you played in creating that state in the first place. So we've touched on what it is and what you can do to change it or foster it. Now, emotional intimacy is something that's going to take some time to grow. I know if you've heard my videos before, you know that I say that change is not a process, change is a choice. And when we choose something different or we choose to do something different, it's immediate. We've chosen it. We choose that new thing and off we go. But there is a bit of process to it. So I know I've kind of described it before, like if you're on the freeway and you're heading down the freeway and it's the freeway that is not emotional intimacy, and then there's another freeway that is the emotional intimacy, and you say to yourself, I don't want to be on this freeway, I want to go to that freeway. The process is the interchange. Now, to get on the interchange, you have to make the choice. I intend to be more intimate with my partner. I intend to be more emotionally close, more emotionally linked and tied with them. I intend to be on a level that's much, much deeper. The moment you make that choice, you begin the process, which is the off-ramp of getting to that place. And if you say, I intend to be that at the next possible opportunity, then the next possible opportunity comes, you're on that freeway. So it's going to help you quickly get to where you want to go by saying, I can do this and I intend to do that. So use intention to get yourselves and you and your partner both to the place where you want to be emotionally and on an intimate level with one another. Now for that bonus I promised you. This one is intense. There's a new study that's come out that shows exactly just how deep an emotional connection can be between romantic partners. They've done brain scans on incredibly close, romantically intimate partners, and what they found is shocking. They found synchronized neural activity. Yes, that's right. They found synchronized neural activity, which means that their brains actually synced up on a neurological level. The connections that they shared were very interesting. They found synchronized activity in empathy, so they were both able to empathize with one another very, very deeply. They found connections in emotional regulation, which means they're regulating their emotions almost in exactly the same manner. And they even found synchronized brain activity in their pain reception centers, meaning when one spouse or one of the people in the relationship was injured, the other person physically felt the same or a similar pain. This type of connectivity shows an incredible connection that can be created by utilizing emotional connection that ends up tying the couple together, not only on an emotional level, but a neurological one as well. Well, that's about it for this video. If you found it informational, give me a like and subscribe, and please share in the comment section any experiences that you've had with emotional connectedness and emotional intimacy with your partner. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.